If you were to ask most people what the middleweight title landscape would look like this time last year, I doubt very many people would have said that Sean Strickland would be defending the belt that he won from Adesanya against Dricus Du Plessis, who is getting a title shot after beating Robert Whittaker. But here we are, so let's take a look at these two unlikely title candidates. Sean Strickland shocked fans around the world with his win over Adesanya, so I thought it would make sense to take a look at this fight. He stands in a pretty upright stance, allowing him to pull his head away from punches, and also stands pretty light on his front foot, both to defend low kicks and to teep quickly. In terms of footwork, it's simplistic yet effective and works well with Sean's style. When Izzy attacks, often just a small step back is enough for Sean to avoid the attack and go right back into the fight. His footwork is equally as simplistic and equally as effective. In this fight, Sean's the aggressor for the entire fight, and for the entire 25 minutes, he pushes and cuts off a world-renowned kickboxer by simply walking forward. It sounds almost absurd, but it's true. Walking forward is a simple way of closing distance, and it's something Stylebender would have seen 1,000 times, so why did it work so well for Strickland? I think the secret is Sean's frantic pace, and also many hours in the gym training for Adesanya's style. It may seem like a weird thing to say that this was a high-paced fight, because there weren't really all that many strikes thrown, but Sean walking forward all fight long caused Adesanya to either move away or engage with a super slick counter-puncher. Every time Adesanya throws, there's a high chance Sean's going to see the punch coming and counter, so the majority of the time he's forced to circle around the cage. Sean also showed exceptional reflexes in this fight, even to the point where it appeared he could even tell how hard Adesanya was throwing. It's no secret, and you probably heard this before, but this likely comes from all the hours Sean likes to spend sparring. First James Toney and now Sean Strickland are known to spend the vast majority of their time in the gym sparring. In a way, Sean has given Adesanya a choice on whether to engage or circle, and both these choices have their downsides. Sean walking forward the whole fight meant Izzy didn't have a chance to establish anything on his own terms, and he was left to fight the Sean Strickland fight. One of the criticisms of Sean is that he is seen as a bit one-dimensional at times. However, he's deceptively crafty and has a lot of tactics to lure people into fighting his fight. I liked his use of the teep in the Adesanya fight, where he would use a small step when teeping with his front leg to simultaneously wilt Adesanya's body and then close distance to throw punches. When Adesanya probed his jab hand out to measure distance, Sean would sometimes grab Izzy's hand with both of his hands, pinning him in place ready for the teep. I'd like to see Sean use his teeps in future fights, as he really had a lot of success with them. So while Sean can appear one-dimensional at times, and you may find yourself yelling at the TV for his opponent to throw a kick or go for a takedown, it's important to see that he's deceptively crafty in the octagon, and through constantly walking forward, countering every single chance he gets, and having exceptional reflexes, Sean Strickland delivered an all-time epic performance against Adesanya. But can he replicate his success? Although he's been in the UFC for a decent while now, we haven't really seen as much of Dricus as we have Strickland. So far, opinions of him have been mixed. I used to think of him as kind of the opposite to Petr Yan. You know how Yan is an amazingly talented fighter who just can't seem to get a win? Well, Dricus is a horrible fighter that can't stop winning. In all fairness, this is far from the truth. Dricus is also a very talented fighter, and he blew a lot of us away when he recently finished Rob Whittaker. He doesn't really do anything the correct way, but he must be doing something right, as Whittaker doesn't just get knocked out like that. One of the pros of having a super weird style is that you become harder to read. Fighters expect techniques to be thrown a certain way, so when you throw it weirdly, it can throw off your opponent, until at least they make a read on you. When Dricus entered the UFC, his fights mainly consisted of him charging forward with his chin up. Not the best style, however he did show some improvements against Whittaker. He did this weird thing where, starting southpaw, he'd step his left leg through and throw his left hand as a lead hook midway through the stance switch. A weird technique for sure, but Rob seemed bamboozled and didn't know what to do about it. Stuff like this is what I was talking about. His opponents have strikes coming their way that they've never seen before or drilled for, so they don't know what to do with it. An interesting thing to keep in mind for Strickland, who spends so much of his time sparring and improving his reactions to traditional strikes, shall we say. Dricus is also built like a fridge, and he'll let you know about it. Through using his size and transitioning from submission threats to nasty elbows, he became the first person we've ever seen to be able to keep Whittaker down. Dricus has some weird punching mechanics at times, but his southpaw jab worked wonders against Whittaker. He kind of throws it in a bit of a downward arc, and he does a really good job of throwing his entire body into his jab, but without telegraphing it at all. It's by far his best technique, and he really should keep using it. It's powerful for a jab as well. The Dricus and Strickland fight is a tricky one to predict, and it's a bizarre matchup between two fighters with respectively weird styles. I can see a couple different things happening in this fight, but not with a lot of confidence, as it is such a strange fight. Dricus running forward with his chin up could give him a lot of trouble with such a sharp counter puncher, but he's got an iron chin on him, and Sean tends to struggle with power punches. It could be one of those fights where Sean is picking Dricus apart, but then Dricus finally connects and puts Strickland down. Those kinds of fights are quite common, where one fighter racks up strikes, stays safe, until one shot just changes the course of the entire fight. Dricus 100% carries that power, and Sean's been put down before. I haven't really touched on the grappling aspect of this fight yet, because it might be even more impossible to call than the striking. So far, Sean has shown pretty decent takedown defense. His shorter stance means people are more likely to shoot double legs, and his main defense consists of digging underhooks. It's pretty simplistic, but you can't shoot a double if the other guy has double underhooks on you. Dricus' takedowns, like his striking, range from unorthodox to absurd. The attempted lat drop where he fell flat on his back comes to mind. His takedown against Whittaker looked like someone trying to do a move that he just saw on the TV, but he still got one of the world's best anti-wrestlers on the floor and kept him there. If anything, the weirdness of his takedowns might even be beneficial to him, as Strickland has become used to defending the same takedown from everyone. It's another fight I don't feel too confident in picking, but I think I am going to go with Dricus Du Plessis in this fight, for the reasons that I mentioned. I think Strickland will have early success doing what he usually does, but the weirdness and the heart with Dricus will give Sean trouble dragging Dricus into the Strickland fight. I think Dricus' massive power and iron chin will eventually get him through the fight, and eventually he's going to land something that Sean just isn't going to be able to take. It's a tricky one to predict just because of the bizarreness, but I think that's what's going to happen. If you want to tell me what you think is going to happen, be sure to leave a comment, and thank you for watching my video.